Hey guys, this is Jenn and Julien, and you're listening to X Appeal episode 32. So you were saying you did nothing interesting this week.
I was gonna say maybe you should say that with more enthusiasm, Julien. I don't know. I feel like that was a little flat. If you ask me,
you were saying.
I don't know. Now that you're an American, do you think that you don't have to try as hard? Is that something?
Are you talking about you having nothing interesting happening this week, or about my?
I have a baby. I don't have a life anymore.
Yeah.
My life died when Ethan was born. But you, on the other hand, have some news to share. You made a decision between an apartment or a Harley Davidson.
and I chose no.
And you chose the Harley.
Yeah, no. I don't have enough anyways for an apartment. So I was like, I'm enjoying Harley, and when I'm ready, I will sell it. And
so where did you? Is it a brand new one?
No. I'm trying to give you the long story short, but basically it's a model from 2018, so it's their new engine. Something I've been eyeing for quite some time.
How does that compare to the price of a car? Like, so can I ask you how much it costs for a 2018 Harley?
Yeah. So I paid $13,500 for this.
Okay. Yeah, that's about.
Yeah, you can get a car for this.
You can get a car for that.
But that bike new is 16,000 plus whatever. So you're looking around 16 to 17,000 new at the shop. And then when it's
a Beverly Hills boob job right there.
Yeah. Beverly or boobs.
Yeah.
But then most people will modify it. You know, you have to change the exhaust because the stock exhaust sucks, and then you have less power, and then and what a lot of people do when they modify it, they use cheap parts. Because you can use, for example, an LED, an LED light, right, for your front light.
Yeah.
And you can get a Harley Davidson one if you want it to be Harley, and that's $400. But you can also get the same version on Amazon from China, and that's $30. So most people will do that. But
then modifications like that, though, that seems to be
it's very
safe.
Yeah. No, it works, but it's just like that's part of like people customizing their Harley, because when they straight out the shop, there's always stuff that you need to change.
Okay.
And so that bike's about 16, 17 brand new, and then he did a lot of modification. He changed the exhaust. But when I went to see it the second time and I rode it, I really took a look, and every single modification he's put on is all Harley.
Okay.
It's all Harley parts.
That's great. So
we having bikes for like the last 7 years and already owning 2 Harleys prior. I know that whatever work he put into it was about $4,000. So he bought it new, and he for sure put $4,000 on that. So that this bike probably cost him 20, and he wanted to sell it for 16.5. And then I saw that he decreased the price to 13, and then I came in and I was like, I'll give you 13.5.
Well, anybody who's not a motorcycle enthusiast has already tuned out of this podcast. So congratulations.
All you got to know about this is that it's a great deal, and I paid less than market price for it. So if I want, I can sell it for whatever I bought it, which is very rare.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what I did do this weekend. Going back to having no life, I did binge the Sex and the City reboot.
So that just proves you don't have a life.
On HBO. Yeah, I fully admit that I don't.
Okay.
So this is, did you ever watch Sex and the City back in the day?
No, I mean, here and there. Like, never on my own. I was always kind of like forced by exes to kind of.
Yeah. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my boyfriend says that he was kind of forced by one of his ex-girlfriends to watch the Sex and the City, the original. Yeah. That's what we do. We make you guys watch vapid shows like that. But I actually was a huge fan of Sex and the City. Well, the movie sucked.
There's like a good-looking British guy in the first one, I remember, who's like kind of like grayish hair and whatever. The one that sleeps around a lot, she's like in love with him or something. Like she sleeps around with him.
Samantha?
Yeah, and then in the second one, I remember there's like a French guy actually who they see showering nude, and then he always has threesomes.
Okay.
You remember that one? Movie? That was in the second, and he became kind of big, that French guy.
I didn't really watch the movies.
Okay. I just remember him because he was kind of struggling as an actor in France, and then when he moved to LA, he booked that part because they were looking for this handsome, like good-looking French guy who was okay to do nudity, and he did. And then after, he got like a series regular on like Two Broke Girls for like a season or two or something.
Oh, really?
And, I saw him on Netflix. Yeah, he literally looks like he could be my older brother. We look the exact same, pretty much.
Okay, so he's your French inspiration.
Yeah, actually, when I started, I DM'd him and I was like, dude, like, it's awesome to see like a French guy actually like booking and stuff. And, you know, and
did he ever get back to you?
Yeah. He was like, oh, that's awesome, bro. Keep it up, blah, 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 blah. And then when I was on set for Two Broke Girls, the girls like, you look just like Gilles. His name is Gilles. It's like, you guys can be brothers. Funny,
we're on Two Broke Girls. I forgot about that.
Yeah, just one episode. But then I got all cut out.
The same path, similar path as you.
Pretty much. So anyways, you're saying that you had no life and you were binging the show.
Well, okay. As a fan of the original Sex and the City, I find this reboot unwatchable. Yet somehow I've watched every episode.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping that it gets better. What's that?
I heard they were very like woke right away in the first episode.
Yes. It's a lot of wokeness. It's a lot of trying to cram in every social issue imaginable into one series. And you're completely neglecting the storylines and the characters. You know, so I mean, I find it very hard to believe that Cynthia Nixon's character as a 55-year-old woman is not familiar with Black culture. Like, you're a smart New York woman who's been around the block. How do you not know these things? Yeah. And I guess she was just mystified by the whole, I don't know, you know, she didn't realize that her professor was a professor because of her hair braids and, you know, whatever.
Is that in the show?
It's almost like these women have been put to sleep for the last 20 years. And then all of a sudden they wake up in modern New York City. In other words, a city that's always been the same, but now we're just addressing these social issues, you know, in nearly every single show that you watch, to be honest. But
some shows do it well.
Some shows do it well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you have, and I can't think of the shows that I want to bring up right now, but it seems a little forced. And a lot of people in the LGBTQ community have chimed in and they agree with that, saying that, you know, because the main character, the new friend in this show, is a non-binary comedian named Shay. And
okay, well, hold on, because I always get confused with the pronouns. So non-binary meaning they do not identify as male.
Do not identify as a he or a she.
Okay.
So they.
So as a French person, this is very confusing for me. And you know, like, I feel like
why as a French person is that confusing?
I'll tell you why. Like, I think like when somebody says that it's confusing, they're automatically like getting shit on. But like, you're allowed to be confused and not understand it, yet still respect it, right? That's the position. Yeah. So like, I don't understand the pronouns and the change of pronouns, but I respect it. If, you know, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not in your shoes. I don't know what it's like to not feel like my personality belongs in the body that I'm on. So I can only respect it, but I don't understand it. And one of the reasons I don't understand it is because French language has feminine and masculine for everything.
Oh, you mean just for objects, even for everything. Okay.
Everything. Like a glass for us, it's masculine. A car is feminine. A bottle is feminine. Une and un. So I grew up with saying there's feminine and there's masculine and there's no in between. But I realized recently that the English language.
Yeah, sure.
It could be so it's us. So we don't know if it's masculine, feminine.
We don't have that same, we don't have those same, same syntax
but
here.
Interestingly enough, this movement of pronouns is mostly happening in the US. In any like Latin countries where they have a masculine, feminine, it's not, I don't know if it's as accepted, but it's just like people from growing up with that specific language. We like, I don't know. It's like there's masculine, there's feminine.
Yeah. When I think Latino culture, I do think it's maybe more and maybe I'm being stereotypical, but I do feel like it's maybe more averse to the idea of using of asking people for their pronouns when you first start a conversation with them?
What do you mean? You mean Latino? Because I mean Latin, like language that are based from Latin.
No. I mean like, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we were on two different pages, but
yeah,
because I thought you meant like culturally.
No. Like
French culture and then Latin,
like French, and like even Spanish and all that stuff. These are all language are derived from Latin.
Yeah, I mean, language even aside, and I'm sure that the pronouns are not something that I grew up with. It's something that this generation will grow up with, and I'm wondering how that's going to manifest itself in their adult lives and their teenage lives. We're already seeing some of it. I mean, I know that at least in the Sex and the City reboot, Charlotte's daughter, whose name is Rose, I believe, now wants to be identified as Rock, not telling her mom that she wanted to be identified as non-binary. Takes that to school, and now the people at school are identifying her as Rock and saying they instead of she. So I just think there's like so much to navigate with that. And you and I haven't really brought anybody on the show yet who can talk about this stuff. And it's become such a prevalent part of
I mean, I think we did with kind of like Dr. Drew and his daughter. We had a little bit of a segment about all that because she
but that was part of a bigger one. I'm talking about somebody who can focus on it and can answer all the questions that you and I have. Yeah.
And also, I mean, I think, we're definitely going to touch base on that, but it's just generally speaking, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring her, and for our listeners, Amber is a good friend of mine, who's done a lot in the gay community. She used to, I think she still have, but she got very popular on YouTube because she had a YouTube channel called Amber's Closet, where she talked about being a woman who is gay and how to come out of the closet and helping people coming out of the closet and coping with their sexuality and all that stuff. And here's the thing, from a guy's point of view, I feel like generally speaking, people have somewhat of a clearish idea of how gay men act in a couple, right? I feel like we kind of all generally have an idea of how it is.
Well, also think about it this way.
There's the bottom, there's one. But with women, I have no idea. Huh?
Yeah, it's more talked about. I think that gay men and gay relationships are more talked about in our society, but also in mainstream media. If you look at like Modern Family, for example, they have a gay couple who's front and center. They do not have a lesbian couple. So I think there's a lot of questions. Lesbian couples have almost been fetishized a little bit, if you think about it.
Well, definitely. Which, by the way, and that's something I want to ask, but don't you think it's a little unfair that you, Jen, tomorrow night can get drunk and make out with your best girlfriend and be like, oh my God, it was fun. We just had a few drinks and we made out. And
I have done that before.
Nobody will ever question your sexuality.
No.
If I did that with my buddy, I was like, we got drunk yesterday and I made out with whatever, Paul.
And you instantly would be, would be labeled either bisexual or gay.
Gay, because, right? Yeah. And I realized that and I was like, that's so weird.
Yeah. It's like those one-off hookups are, I guess there's more flexibility when it comes to women on women one-off hookups than there would be a man on man hookup.
Yeah.
And why is that? And I would love to know Amber's opinion about that and about a lot of other things too. I mean, I feel like, as two white straight people, you don't want to.
I'm Iranian. Okay.
Okay,
so
sure.
Very ethnic.
Sure, and I'm Italian. So I feel like we might be afraid to ask certain questions from the LGBTQ community.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah,
for fear of offending somebody. Yeah. And I think what's great about Amber is that she has made a career out of destigmatizing and let's talk about this as adults, and you can ask any question. It's something that I think when you have these conversations out in the open, there's less of a threat of somebody getting angry and offended and
that's also part of educating people.
Yeah.
If somebody feels like they're safe to ask a question without like offending, That's how you learn. So I've experienced that with two of my best friends because they're Black. And sometimes they say something that I don't understand because I'm a white Frenchman. So I don't understand what this thing could be offensive to say or and then I ask them generally, and I'm always like, guys, I'm not trying to be offensive. I just don't understand where this is coming from. And then they explain to me, and I was like, oh, okay. And then we move on.
Yeah. I mean, how can you expect to break down those barriers if you're not willing to have an open, curious conversation?
Yeah. The only thing is like a lot of people are not generally curious. They're just assholes and they just want to offend. So I understand too. It goes both ways.
Well,
right?
there's no room for those kinds of people in either one of our lives, and let alone a podcast.
Let's bring Amber. Also, on top of being an activist, she's cool as shit. All right, so there she is with us. My good friend Amber. Jen, by the way, like Amber and I met at an influencer party maybe 6 years ago when I like still brand new to LA. And yeah. And
you guys have kept in touch ever since?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like here and there we'll talk and catch up, but I guess that's the beauty of Instagram is like you don't really have to be in constant contact. You just kind of like keep an eye on each other and what you guys do, and then once in a while.
What does an influencer party look like?
Was it? I just remember us being at where Chapel is now, and there was some type of function. And I met you and Mo.
No, so we met you before. You met me and Mo at this Instabrand. You remember Instabrand?
Oh,
they were throwing like a house party, and we went there. That's when it was just started, and like at the time, like 100,000 followers was like a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
And then we met.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And then back then, both of us, we weren't as busy as we are now. So we got to just meet up and do random stuff.
Yeah, random stuff. Yeah. Then I think we did some videos too at some point with Johan Jones or something.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, we did a bunch of videos.
And one day she interviewed me for her channel, which is Amber's Closet, which we're going to talk about. When you were asking me lesbian terms, so you were asking
what gay terms. You did so good too. Yeah.
Really, I felt like I messed all.
No, you killed it because you lived in West Hollywood. You did great.
Oh yeah,
you're absorbing. Yeah.
The video was just like, do you know what this is? And I was like, and I had to guess.
It was really good because like some of them I threw him a lot of curveballs and he knew it. Like I remember which one was one that I wasn't even sure of, and you told me, you're like, oh yeah, because I met these guys and they explained this to me. I was like, oh yeah.
So what's Amber's Closet about? You still active on YouTube?
Not as much as I used to be, but I try to be. But I would say like from the beginning, it was just like me creating videos that I didn't see on the internet, because I've been now on YouTube or the internet now for over 9 years. And it's crazy because I've been consistent and inconsistent, and I've been on other platforms too. But throughout the time, I would say I've just mainly been trying to focus on creating videos that I wish that I had growing up, or that I wish that I had when I was questioning myself, or trying to find my style, or like just wanting to be a better version of myself. So like, that's what I kind of try to focus on.
When you were growing up, did you have anybody that you looked up to?
Yeah, absolutely. But there wasn't anybody that represented me in the ways that I needed. That's for sure. Because I looked up to like women basketball players, right? Because I was a basketball player, but that didn't help me when I was questioning my sexuality, and that didn't help me when I was like trying to just find myself and like how I could fit in the world. There was no one to talk to, or to like, I don't know, to understand that I wasn't alone in how I was feeling. So it took me so long to come out. And because of that, that's why I want to help somebody else.
I mean, can I ask you what that experience was like for you coming out?
Yeah, I mean, it happened in so many stages. Really, more so, when I look back at it, I would get frustrated at the fact that it took me so long. Like I was all the way into my mid-20s when I finally came out. And so, I wish I would have been able to come into myself earlier when I was first feeling like, oh, okay, I think I like women.
Who was the first person that you told?
The first person? Who was the first person? I think the the girl I was dating at the time, because she was low key like I think that was a moment. Like when we started in high school, when me and her started like kind of taking it further than friends, I was just like, you know, because I think I like girls more. She didn't. I was just like I was a little secret for her. But I think after that, one of my best friends.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like
surprised
from an outside point of view, and obviously, what do I know? But it seems like there's more help towards men coming out gay. Like I'll see more videos about it, like on TikTok. I'm come across YouTube video about that guys explaining how they did it, and I guess I could see how there's none for women. Is there?
I mean, I guess it's different because it's different with how you show up as well in the world, right? Because I feel like me as a more masculine woman, like if I just started dressing this way early on, I'm sure people would have been like, yeah, no, they would have noticed. But like feminine gay women have to come out every single day, like every moment that a dude hits on them, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and they have to turn around and be like, yo, bro, like I'm not interested. But I don't know. It's different for everybody. And I think with men, I don't know. I think it depends on their background, their race, like all those different things that that you have to take into account when people are like coming into themselves and their sexuality. Because
even like and Julie and I were talking about this before you came on, like in mainstream media, like shows like Modern Family or Will and Grace, for example, like you see gay men portrayed in a big way, whether it's, a caricature of what they think a gay man would act like. But either way, it's exposed to a mainstream crowd. I haven't really seen a lesbian couple portrayed in the same way. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest issues is that oftentimes when there are lesbians in media, there aren't lesbians of color and they are over-sexualized.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
one of the most frustrating things ever. We had there's only been one show with a masculine of color lead ever. And that is not that old. It's just came out, season 2 just came out. And that's the first time you'll see a masculine lead, which is crazy.
Which show is that?
It's called 20s.
Okay.
And I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good too.
Yeah.
You remember that movie Booksmart? The
Olivia Wilde.
And like Olivia Wilde and like the lead's best friend is lesbian. And it was great because I've also noticed that maybe 10, 15 years ago, the whole premise of the movie was to explore, gay sexuality. But now in today's show and content, it is already accepted. We're not discussing it anymore.
It's just like, it's discussed, but not in a way that hits. I think the biggest thing that I have with media is that they don't often tell the right stories. They tell the same story over and over. Right. And then it doesn't even relate to majority of the community. So I think that's the frustrating thing. Yeah.
But also just having a gay character in as a best friend on the show, for example, it's no longer, we're never, it's like as much as before you would have a full movie explaining what homosexuality is. Now it is set. This is my gay best friend, and we don't need to talk about it. Yes, he's gay, and we're best friends. That's it. Right. Let's move on from this topic. It's nothing crazy. Yeah. It's nothing that needs to be overly discussed. That's just the reality, right? If you look
even at storyline.
Yeah, it's just before
it always is a side storyline.
No, it's just accepted. Like you look at Schitt's Creek, nobody questions David's sexuality. Nobody. Yeah. It's just that's the fact. That's how it is, and I feel like that's a good way for people to be like, oh, it's normal because it is.
Yeah, it definitely needs. I mean, it's definitely great that it's becoming more normalized because it needs to. But I think the thing that's missing is the different ways that LGBTQIA plus people show up, and not in just that way. Not in just the I'm flamboyant. I love clothes. Like we show up in so many different forms, and so that's I think what's needed is more multi-dimensional characters, more backgrounds and more of just gay happens to be the plus. I mean, just an extra of how amazing this human is. Yeah.
It doesn't define you.
Focusing on the person's character as opposed to what their sexuality is.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new, because we were talking about this too, the new Sex and the City reboot?
No.
Okay. Because a lot of people are saying that, and even in the LGBTQIA plus community, they've been saying that the character of Che, which is non-binary comedian, that it seems forced. It almost seems like it's so in your face, and it's like and they break down. I mean, every stand-up routine they do has to explain to straight people, cis people, what a non-binary individual is. And what do you think about portrayals like that? Because it doesn't seem in any way that this is something that's organically part of the storyline.
Right. I mean, I think when people realize that like they're not as exclusive as they could be, they try to throw in something just to feel a part of the conversation that's happening. And like in real life. So I haven't seen it, but that already sounds forced. Cause like, how did they show up? You just threw it in there just so you can say, oh yeah, we're more diverse. Like,
and we're woke, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what people are saying. Yeah.
So I have a quick like language thing. And again, that's me being French. What's the appropriate way? Is lesbian derogatory or is it a okay term?
Yeah. I mean, it's great with me. I've never heard it used as derogatory. There are a lot of words that describe lesbians that are derogatory.
Okay.
But that's definitely not one.
Okay.
That's
that's
the main encompassing word. You know what I'm saying? Either like to explain my sexuality.
Yeah.
So I also know via your Instagram that you describe yourself as masculine of center.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Masculine of center with feminine energy, meaning like at the core of myself, I feel that my masculinity is like my foundation kind of thing. Like that's the more thing. And my feminine energy is kind of how I show up, like, and how I embrace people. And I'm more so like when you're around me or whatever, I feel like I'm more of like, it's more feminine energy, but in the core of me, like, I don't know.
And how is that expressed? Like, is it in your attitude? Is it in your style? How is that expressed? The masculine energy?
Yeah, the masculine energy, I think it shows up in a lot of different ways. Like, I think it's the way that I think, or my strength. Like, there's so many different things about masculinity, and like even sometimes touching on that, I get like because everybody feels that in different ways. But for me, I think it's just my mindset and my strength and my focus, discipline. And then my feminine is like my nurturing side, my loving side, my affectionate side, and my understanding and empathy. That's for sure.
Okay.
Now, are your pronouns still she?
Yeah, she, her.
I feel like you're saying you feel masculine inside. So.
So I think that's just how. I think it's how I was raised. Really, I'm a daddy's girl. And so he raised me with the mindset of a man, let's be real. But I think just in general, how I am, like the things that I was more into at a very young age, I guess it would be considered things that are more masculine than feminine.
We're also talking earlier about like if a straight girl hooks up one night with another girl, right? And they're like, oh my God, we're just having fun. We're just having a drink, whatever.
One-off hookup,
To the rest of like her boyfriend could literally be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like she just hooked up with the girl. It's no big deal. She's still straight. But if a guy does it, right, and has been portrayed to like women his whole life, and then all of a sudden one night he has a few drinks and then he hooks up with a guy, he's automatically no longer straight.
I don't think any of them are.
So you think
the thing is, I don't think anybody is. The thing is, bisexuality is like 87% of humans, like fluidity. Most people are fluid beings in their sexuality, but they can't express it because of, social constraints.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's really sad, but I think that people should be able to explore themselves a little bit more and not be afraid of like other people's labels. Cause that's something that I want to destroy, is like the bad image of people being bisexual. Cause I just think that they're people of the world. Like, why can't a dude just go out and see what's up? You know what I mean? Whatever. Like, I think it's crazy, but yeah, we are hypocrites in society with like women being able to be openly bisexual and it be more accepted than if a man does it. And I think that that's really tragic and sad.
And I remember when I met you, we're not going to say her name, but you were with a girl, singer, and you were her first woman.
Yeah. And I think I'll probably be her only. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think she went back to dating men.
Yeah.
Right. And
absolutely.
In her, I'm sure that the man that is dating her now, if he knows that she was with a woman for a while, he would still think she's straight. He wouldn't consider her bisexual.
Yeah, I think so her and I have actually had this talk when first of all, let me just say that yes, she was very straight. And then for a while, I just didn't make her label herself at all because we were together 3 years, right? Yeah. So her figuring out a label was not important to me because our connection was good. Yeah. No matter if she didn't like women in general, she still we were great, right? So you're with a woman. But in reality, I think that as soon as a woman enjoys another woman at a certain level, you are in the bisexual category.
Yeah, I mean,
even if you don't go back. Yeah, even if you don't go back. Like if you do some things to another woman and you're pretty good at it, you're just over there for me now. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be real. So I think even if she never dates another man again, I would still consider that because she was with a full-on woman for 3 years and plus because we tried even after we broke up for a little while.
Yeah, I've even asked my girlfriends about this too. Like, you know, if you were dating a guy and you found out that he had hooked up with another guy, they would be turned off by that. They'd be like, he's definitely gay. Like he's definitely at the very least he's bisexual. And you know, what does that mean? Like there's still a lot of like confusion out there for people. They don't know how to handle.
It's not accepted with man on man.
Yeah,
it's not. And they look at it as like is something dirty. But the thing is that most people are so insecure with not being able in their head to measure up to somebody else. It's this compare and contrast thing all the time that I think is crazy. I don't spend any time worried about somebody else. I'm just worried about my connection with somebody. And that's what I want to focus on. So I think that everybody is losing when they keep that mindset of constantly worried about the wrong things. And so I think for like, let's say your homegirl and she found out her man, you know, whatever, she's just like, damn, how can I compare it to that? You know what I'm saying? I think that's more so, or in her mind, homosexuality is just maybe not attractive, and she finds it, not. I don't know the word, but just
there's so many different layers. I mean, you could like do an entire therapy session with someone like that, and still not be able to figure out where that comes from.
Yeah, but it is hypocrite because the woman who might be turned off by her man having a sexual encounter with another man might also be the same woman who makes out with all her girlfriends as soon as she had 3 tequilas.
For real.
So it's like well, but then it's a double standard, and there's a ton of double standards, you know?
Yeah.
But I think also what we're talking about too, is like it's going to take time for people to be okay with it, because even if you look at the past generation, like the conversation I have with my dad, who's far from homophobic, he still doesn't understand it. Right? So it's like it's something like we're the transition, and then our kids will be even more understanding than I'll still remember this one time. I'll share you this story where I got my first tattoo, okay, and I was 22, 23, and then my dad hated tattoos, so I went back to France, and we're gonna be in the beach like 2 weeks later. So I was like, I gotta tell him, because otherwise he's gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna get like shit for it. So I sat him down, and I was like, Dad, I have something to tell you. And he's like, whoa, what is going on? And I'm like, you know, I want to tell you, and also I chose my words, I want to say poorly, because I said I want to tell you. I was like, I want to tell you before you find out by someone else. And mom already knows about it, because she's more understanding than you. And then my dad's face, just like, you know, Iranian man who's just like like it's still like, as much as he doesn't care, it's like for him, his son to be gay might be like something. It's like a big thing. So, and I was like, I just wanted to let you know I had a tattoo. I got a tattoo, dude. And then he's like this sense of like relief, and he's like, oh my God, okay. Well, I thought you were gonna say that you were gay, and then I was like, well, I mean, you've seen me since I was 17. I've been with girls and I brought girls home and all that stuff. And his answer was like, yeah, but your generation, one day you're with a girl, one day you're with a man, you never stick to anything. And it's just like, he's just confused about it.
But that's hilarious that he thought that, because the way you set it up kind of sounds like it too. Yeah. And you know what's hella crazy is like when I started to come out, I did it so dramatic in a way. I'm like, if I tell somebody something so bad that then I say just joking and just say I'm gay, it'll soften the blow. Right. So I literally told so many friends and I think a family member that I was ill, like cancer or something, like so dramatic and crazy. And then I was like, okay, I'm just joking. Cause then now they start crying and they're being all dramatic. I'm like, I'm just playing. I'm gay though. You know what I'm saying? And then they all just like literally got so mad at me and wanted to beat me up for making them scared. But I was just like, oh, I thought if I told you something bad. Anyways, I was so immature for that. Don't do that, anybody.
Is that so? How do you advise people on your YouTube channel that are struggling when they're like in their teens to possibly come out? Do you have an actual set method? Because on the video, it's not like you have a one-on-one talk with the person to actually like have a plan for them. But is there like, do you have a specific or like a little bit of an outline on how to do it or how to approach it or how you recommend doing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because every situation is circumstantial. Like, everything is different. But I try to give some advice that will help people in certain situations. Like if they feel like their home is unsafe, if they come out, I advise them to like keep that to themselves until they're able to move out or go to college or just be in a safe environment. I often tell people to, look for like the LGBT center or different places to find community, to have like someone there for them to have their back or to help them through what they're feeling or what they're thinking, or just get educated on different versions of like themselves or how they can even do that, or even just like, just get some information about what they're feeling. That's like the main thing. Or I help people like if they want to like drop little gems, like one way to do it to parents, if you feel like your parent will be welcoming, but it's probably better that they figure it out, which it will work a lot of times, right? Because a lot of times parents will get defensive and feel like it's something that they did. So if you drop little like crumbs around and they're able to pick it up and be like, and like sit on it for a while, then the conversation becomes different when they're already imagining, oh, what if my child is this way? What if my child, it needs to come out? And so if you drop little crumbs and then your parent sits on it for a while and approaches you, the conversation is much different than if they walk in on you with, you know what I'm saying, your best friend, or you know what I'm saying, whatever. It becomes different.
What's
so I try to just give a like I don't know, like little crumbs, like I don't know, like leaving a TV station, like leaving a show on TV and it happens to be like LGBT themed, or like
doing a search,
like just like, oh, I have a pride flag sitting on the, like little things that might like your parent might pick up on it. I also recommend like icebreaker type things. Like if you're sitting at the table with your family and you kind of want to know how they feel about, people that are LGBT or whatever. And you just like say, so like, hey mom, do you like watching Ellen? Like, what do you think about her? Like things like that. It's just like, then they're going to reply like, oh yeah, she's a great person, or go right into her sexuality. And then from there you can kind of like be like, oh, okay, my parents feel this way. Am I safe? Yeah.
That's actually a great.
Gosh, I was just because my best friend didn't come out until he was in his late 20s for fear of how his father would react. And I was thinking to myself, like, first of all, they got to know that you're gay. They got to know already. It's just, I've known since he was 12 years old that he's been gay. But more than that, I think it part of the reason that it breaks my heart to see people suffering like that is the idea that they're worried their parents aren't going to love them anymore,
right,
or respect them anymore because of who they are. Right. And why would you why would you want your son or your daughter to live a life of suffering as opposed to just being who they are and being happy, even if it means being with somebody of the same sex? I think that's what hurts me the most.
I know, it's really sad. I was afraid to let my dad down and not make him proud anymore, because that was my goal, like majority of my life. And it's really sad that like parents, especially like, I feel like my generation, parents weren't able to like live the way that they wanted to live, or like as freely. So I feel like they apply all of those restrictions now on their children and living through their children in an unfair way. And I feel like that's one of the ways. It's just like, no, you have to do this and you have to go to med school, or you have to do this because I didn't. And then they like place all these restrictions on them instead of just loving them for who they are. Yeah. And I think that my generation was like starting to break the mold. And now even like these Gen Yers or whatever, are we back? Wait, what are these babies now? Gen Zs, whatever.
Gen Z?
These babies. Yeah, they're out here wilding, but in a good way though. So I feel like it's weird. It's like, I feel like my generation has to like start breaking the stigmas and healing traumas so that the next generation can do their thing. There's any
kind of resentment on the part of older generations that we have so much more freedom than they did?
No, I know. I think I get asked that question a lot, because I always say that like, oh, I do the videos that I wish that I had, you know what I mean? And they're just like, well, how, like, do you get angry that you didn't have that? I'm just like, no, I just feel like all I keep thinking about now is just like how I want to help someone else. And like, if they're able to reach further than I am, because I have, you know what I'm saying, I have their back a little bit, then that's great. As long as somebody gets there. I just care about
we didn't have
humans.
as much outlet as they did, you know, of internet
at all
stuff. So it's like, it's obviously, it's so much easier for the older generation to be closed-minded because they don't have access to anything else than what they know.
Yeah. And it's also crazy because the older generation comes to me and says, wow, like I wish I was as brave as you, you know, because there's a lot of older queers that come up to me and say like, it took them forever to come into themselves, or they waited till they were married with kids and later in life actually come out because they weren't able to back then. So they think I'm brave. And then I'm looking at these 12-year-olds coming out on TikTok like, wow, not as brave as them.
I do think there's like a lot more open-mindedness now as opposed to generations past. I mean, these like OG gay men and women, like the ones who were at, was it Stonewall in New York? Like, holy shit. They coming out for them was way different than the experience of somebody coming out today.
Oh my gosh.
But also because I think it felt unnormal for them, right? Because right now, like you said, you can go on internet and find at least 15, 20 people that are in the exact same boat as you. Back then, it was just you around your friends.
Yeah, and then it was like, you know, there was a lot of shame that went along with it too.
Oh yeah, I mean, from everything, especially when you bring up Stonewall. I'm a Stonewall ambassador, so that means that I am one of, I think there's like 15 of us that have made it a point to pass on to the next generation the history behind and where it all started. And Stonewall now this summer, or I think we're on year 52 since that happened. But what's so crazy is like, I'm actually in a documentary about Stonewall where you can actually like hear the voices of people that were interviewed afterward that actually were in the riots, which is really dope. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. But it's so crazy because they sit there and they tell you that even the police, they had to deal with just society bullying them, but the police would often show up just to beat them up because they could.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately started the riots, is they were so tired of the police just coming in, shutting them down and beating them just because of their sexuality. And that's how it started. It's just so crazy to think that like, you literally just have to get it from everywhere. You show up and you try to be the person that you want to be and try to love yourself. And then you walk down the street and you're being literally, you know what I'm saying, physically attacked. And then you go into a place that you feel is safe, which is like one of few gay bars. And then you literally are attacked by the people that are paid to protect and serve you.
Yeah, that's it's like crazy hate crime. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it was hard.
What's the documentary? Nick called?
Oh, that I think it's just Stonewall. Hold on, let me.
Is it out already?
Look. Oh yeah, there's one where it's like, it's on YouTube and it's me. Lance Bass is in it, but it's really dope.
And also, so that might be a dumb question, but you know how like in gay men relationship, I feel like people always like, okay, he's top, he's bottom.
Right.
Is that the same with two women? Is there like, I feel like people are so uneducated and so scared to ask questions. It's like, is there an actual woman and quote unquote a man when it comes to a gay-to-gay relationship, or no? I feel like no, but I don't know.
I think overall, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with like labels, right?
Yeah.
Because like when I start saying masculine center with feminine energy, because I feel like these labels are so
restrictive.
I don't know. They're restrictive, but also I just think they're unnecessary a lot of times. And I was such a label person when I was first on the internet because I needed people to understand that I was different than what they knew about. Like, especially if you talk about lesbians, you really only know two. You know, a stud, which is more masculine, and a femme, which is feminine lesbian. And so when I was first on the internet, I put them together. I'm like, I'm a STEM. I'm somewhere in the middle because I knew I felt more androgynous. I leaned on my masculine, but I also leaned on my feminine, right? And at the time, that was not normal. Every time I would show up as this, like a little bit of both, I would get kind of like, I don't know, the studs wanted to fight me. It was just like not a normal thing. But then it became more normal as people started talking about it, expressing themselves. So what I learned as I grew up, and I was like, oh, I don't want to just keep labeling myself. And especially being in that relationship where I was with somebody that was technically straight, and realizing that labels aren't that important because I'm with somebody I have a great connection with. Why do I need her to have a label just to fit in, just to make everybody else comfortable, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. Because it's actually for other people. Yeah, you're right. It has nothing to do with you.
It's not. It's other people trying to figure us out.
Yeah.
Right. And then so when you think about it like that, that's when I'm just like, oh, it's not as important. But one thing that the LGBT community has done that is a problem is taking on heterosexual normatives just to fit into society. And that's where you get the who's the man, who's the woman, right? Because we think that we have to fit into these norms so that society recognizes us, but then supports us, right? So we have to have a man and a woman for society to be like, oh, okay, that's the only way this makes sense and we can accept it. So I try to break those things. So no, I don't know. I just think that's one of the...
You break it with like compassion and understanding, like understanding that people, this is the only, especially previous generations, this is the only frame of reference that they have when you're describing like who's the man and who's the woman in a lesbian relationship. Like they're relying on traditional, I guess, values that they've gotten used to understand what that life is like.
But in a sense, I feel like it makes sense that the LGBTQ decided to operate this way, because if you think about it, people are dumb and people tend to not be compassionate if they don't understand something, right? So trying to explain to a straight Midwest person that there is not, the only dynamic he's known in his whole life is, or he or she is known as man versus woman, and you try to explain that this couple has none of that, they're not going to understand it. I don't think they will. You have to be very...
No. I mean, listen, you're talking about my dad, basically.
Yeah. Like, but so then if you're a member of the lesbian community and you don't want to be hurt by other people, the only way you have, in a sense, to survive and to be understood and to be, like somewhat accepted is to put it in terms of that idiot that doesn't understand that it could go in 1,000 ways. So I understand why people, as much as I understand it's so wrong, because it does not describe your relationship at all. It does not describe how you are, because you said there's no women, there's no real men. Right. But for the idiot out there, the average Joe who doesn't understand and only knows one thing, how else would you suggest then going about it to explain it to someone who doesn't know?
Well, first of all, we don't have to explain it to him. And I think that's the thing too, is like, there are people out there that have the time and the patience. I'm one of them, to explain it to people. But more often the way that people approach things are in a mindset of ignorance and judgment. And so we don't always have time for that. And that's one of the things is I had to let go of, is not caring about those people's opinions, so that I was able to finally come into myself and come out. And so, I don't worry about them. But that goes back to why I was saying that I feel like labels are more so for everyone else to understand this and not really for us. Yeah.
But there's a lot of like maturity and evolution with where you're coming from, because it's very easy to get offended and to get defensive. But for you explain things in a way that's like, okay, I'm just trying to help you understand. I'm not judging you. I'd appreciate it if you don't judge me. I'm just trying to help you, understand what my life is like and what millions of other people's lives are like.
Yeah. So when I have that type of person like come up to me and ask me questions, I just like hit him with something like, oh, have you ever been cheated on? Like normal relationship shit that everybody's been through, where I'm just like, oh yeah, well, me too. And it hurt. And I had to do this and this. Did you? And it more so like, it helps, like, especially if people are so opposite, let's say like a white Trump supporter and I have a conversation or whatever, right? And like it almost like me explaining something as simple as that humanizes me all of a sudden. And it's like, oh wow, we actually do have a lot in common. Have you ever brought anyone like that onto your YouTube channel? No, I've done panels with these people. Oh, you have? Okay. yeah. And I enjoy it. Like back in the day before, COVID happened and we locked the whole world down. I did a lot of like YouTube conventions or social media conventions, and they would put me on a lot of panels that were for activism or politics. And so oftentimes I'm sitting on the same panel with someone with opposite views completely. But I liked it because by the end I was his favorite person on the panel. I was about to say, like, I've not, like, every time that we've hung out, like even when we run into each other, so I don't know one person who ever says anything else than, oh yeah, Ember's so dope. Like, that's like part of your thing. And I think that's what you're doing and why you're so good at it, is because I think that's you're just natural at that type of stuff. Yeah. So it's the right career that you've chose, because you're able to have conversation and humanize all of this. And I don't know anybody who dislikes you. So it's like, we need more ambassadors and activists like you in the world. For real. That's why that's one of my main things. Is like, I just want to uplift more voices to feel good to speak, because it's like one of the things I always love to say is like, I want people to realize that they have a voice and that it's important and that they should use it, because not just one of us in every category needs to tell the story. You can't tell the story for everybody. Like, more stories need to be shared so that it becomes more normalized and the conversation it becomes more open and like what we were talking about earlier. If we are discussing more of LGBTQ stories and more dimensions than just that one gay best friend that's like the fashionista, then other people just understand that, oh, this is just normal. This is just normal life. People are just different. But so you're able to educate people because of your approach to the whole thing, right? It's like if I want to have a conversation and try to learn about how your relationship works and how you experience life, I need me as a curious question to feel safe that I can actually ask this question. And I think one of the things that is going on too, especially right now, of everybody getting a lot of people are getting offended, rightfully so, because some people don't give a fuck. But it is also, there's a balance where I feel like the person who's trying to get educated should also kind of feel like he's okay. It's okay to ask a question without offending the other person. I'm scared shitless to offend somebody who uses different pronouns. Yeah. Because for example, I don't understand. Then I was telling Jenn, in the French language, there's only masculine and feminine. That's how I grew up. So I don't understand it. But I'm always scared to be offensive. I'm scared to ask questions about lesbians' relationship. I'm scared of that stuff because I'm like, oh, I don't want to come out as like somebody who's who's just like trying to offend someone. I'm just trying to learn. And unfortunately,
It's like that.
I feel like it's the energy like that somebody puts in, because like if you're the drunk guy at the bar coming up to the lesbians and they're just like, yeah, so like, how do you guys do this? Whatever. That's completely different than when you come up and just be like, oh, your relationship is so beautiful, you know, blah, blah, blah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Like, I need to be educated at asking a question, because oftentimes when you ask permission, like, then that is you're understanding, you know what I'm saying? And you're not just like throwing it. You're asking, you're giving them the option to opt in or opt out, right? And then that's always good. It's just like, and especially if you feel like somebody might have different pronouns, because to be honest, I'm scared of being offensive a lot of times too. Especially you have to think that we're constantly growing and learning and creating new labels and categorizing each other in ways that are very different in a rapid pace. So even me, I can be more, and to some people, I'm old school, right? So oftentimes, like, I have to go and ask the questions too and be updated. So because of that, I am very understanding of others outside of the community. If there's some of us in the community still trying to figure it out. So I think it's just like handling things with grace and understanding, and then just asking, be like, hey, I'm Julien and my pronouns are da 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 da. How about you? It's just giving someone grace and giving someone safety and comfortability to be like, oh, I can share this here, or I can, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just the way that you approach it.
And Jen, I know you had one last quick question. You know, you sent me this question about, would it be easier? Is it easier in a relationship? Oh no, sorry. I think I asked my girl, and she had this good question. It's like, do you feel like, so you know how like a man and woman relationship, there's always miscommunication, and men are like, I don't understand women, and women are like, I don't understand guys.
Like men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Like I don't understand how. Wait, no means no. That's it. There's no underlying between, right? Do you feel like just two women or two men, it just kind of works better because it's like you guys just understand each other, and like. My best friend and I, Mo, we understand each other. It's just
y'all do.
It's done. Yeah, I mean,
we both have the male brain, and then if you both have the female brain, like okay, I get what you're saying.
No, I don't think that at all. I think humans are just humans. Yeah, because I mean, when I dated men, they were the softest, most emotional ass dudes. They pretty much, and I think that makes sense because of how I am. But like, even my sister too. I just think that humans are humans, right? And I think that the connection you have with people and how they show up with their emotional maturity, or if they're mature at all, or like where they are in their self-growth journey, how do they love themselves, what their love languages are, all these things affect how people are with each other and the connection that they have. And a lot of people just don't take those things into account when they should, right? Yeah. So I think that it's not about men or women or anything in between. It's just literally humans and how we function.
It's a great way. Yeah, say it.
Amber, thank you so much. I hope you come back. We want to have you back.
For sure.
Sooner than later.
What are you, before we wrap it up, what are you working on right now? Any things that people should be on a lookout for?
No, not really. I'm literally just kind of getting back to myself. I had to take a mental health break for like December and most of January. The world is just like heavy, and I'm just an empath, and I'm just like taking a lot of it on. And sometimes I just need to take a break. And so, that's what I've kind of been doing. But I have worked on some shows that I think are going to roll out at some point this year. So
awesome.
That's
and
exciting.
Then everybody can like find you on Instagram at Amber's Closet.
Yes, Amber's Closet everywhere.
Amber's Closet everywhere, and that was great and very informative. So thanks for coming on and having actual good open conversation.
Yeah,
of course. Next time we'll talk about sex.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's talk about sex. Let's do it.
Next time.
Perfect.
Of course.
All right.
Oh, she was wonderful. I love her.
I know. I knew she'd be the perfect fit to bring on.
Yeah. Like, you know what I appreciate the most about her is that she came at it from the perspective of like, help me help you. It's almost like I felt comfortable asking her any kind of question about the LGBTQIA plus community. Did I get all the consonants and vowels? So yeah, I mean, and I think that's why she's such a successful activist and advocate.
Yeah. And just like, listen, even in person, like there's an energy about her.
Yeah.
Like that I remember, because there's not a lot of people that I met at an influencer party that I'm still in touch with. Honestly, there's
Yeah.
none. There's one.
I want to be her friend.
Yeah. And I remember from the beginning, it's like, man, this girl is cool as shit.
Absolutely.
Like you can kick it and literally go to lunch, and it just feels like your best friend, like right away. And there's that's, to me, that's really is a gift that she has.
It is a gift. That's not many people have that ability to make you feel like, you know, you're the only person in the room.
Yeah.
That's how she makes you feel.
No, yeah. And for our listeners, she did mention coming back, and we would do a podcast about sex only.
Yes. So
really
any questions that you guys have?
Oh yeah, that would be a great. Like if you guys, our listeners, have any sex question when it comes to women on women and maybe, I don't know, guys and all that stuff.
Anything.
Shoot it our way, because we can have an open conversation about it. That would be awesome.
Perfect.
My laptop's dying too, so I'm gonna plug it.
Yep. I'm on. Well, 23%. I still have some life, but
That's not bad.
But I think,
awesome.
I mean, I learned a lot for sure. Her insight was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we had her on. All right. So I guess that wraps up this one.
That's
Until
it.
next time.
For next week. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go take care of my passport.
Go do it.
All right. Well, thanks for
my
listening,
baby.
guys, and we will see you next week.